I couldn't get Andy to be committed 100%.
Was that because of
You
the
know what I
training
mean?
camp?
No, no, no. It's definitely not because of the training camp. It's more him. You know, he's got to realize that that he's got to again, he's an experienced fighter. He knows he knows what he has to do. He knows he's got to train hard. He knows he's got to be disciplined. There's no secret.
I know
There's
he's
no secret.
mentioned the trilogy, but do you really think Anthony and Eddie will give him the trilogy now?
You know what? I believe that can happen, but he's got to prove it. He's got to go out there and beat some top heavyweight contenders in order to get that opportunity. It's not just going to happen from one day to the next.
Not immediately. It's got to come
Not
in the
immediately.
future.
In the future, if he means what he says about going back to the gym and working hard, then, you know what I mean? If he means it and if he prepares himself the way he should and beats some top contenders, then why not?
Did he party too hard?
So we just heard there from Manny Robles, and I've got to say, as far as trainers go, this man is the real deal. 9 times out of 10, 9 trainers out of 10 make excuses for their fighters. Oh well, and you know what I mean? They're moist. Always got an excuse for their fighter. This dude here, he hasn't made no excuses. Andy Ruiz made a whole load of excuses. You haven't heard no excuses out of Manny Robles' mouth. Straight to the point. Another thing, you haven't heard Manny. Most trainers would be sitting there talking about a third fight, arguing for a third fight based on the first fight. Oh well, we still 1-1. That's what most trainers would do. Trust me. Most trainers would be saying the same as Andy Ruiz. Oh, it's 1-1. We got to do the tiebreaker. That's what most people would be doing. But this man is such a... I'm not sure what it is about him, but he's such a... Because even from his point of view, I'm sure he'd like an extra million. If you work it out, Andy Ruiz got paid 13 million. If there was an 8% split, that would be 1 million to Manny Robles. But despite the money being there, this man is such a boxing purist almost, or he loves the sport so much, he loves the respect for the sport so much that it's almost saying that I'm happy not to get paid. I'm happy for Andy Ruiz not to get the third fight. If he doesn't go away and prove he can come back and work hard and do all the things he said he's going to do now he's learnt his lesson, if he can't prove that by beating top people, he won't get it. And that's essentially what Manny Robles has said here. If Andy Ruiz can come back and do all these things he's talking about, then yeah. If not, then no, it's not going to happen. And I really rate that, because in this social media age, most people just want it all to be about like goofy stuff. Oh, we want the third fight, we want the tiebreaker. Oh, we don't want to earn it. After that camp they must have had, this man ain't impressed. Manny Robles is not impressed, and he's not. You can tell he's not upset. He knew what was coming, more or less. Or tell a lie, he knew. He's not surprised. Manny Robles is not a man who's disappointed. He's not surprised. He knew what was going to happen, more or less, or he wasn't shocked at this happening, which just goes to show that, as we've heard, Manny Robles tried to get Andy Ruiz in camp. In fact, I did a video on it. Manny Robles says that training starts on Monday, and about 4 weeks later, Andy Ruiz said, oh yeah, we're about to go training next week. I thought, what? That's 5 weeks later. And I'm not even sure he went to camp then. But that just goes to show the level of disrespect that's carried on in the camp. I'm not sure that Andy Ruiz isn't being blatantly disrespectful, but he's showed disrespect to the sport and to his elders, essentially. Well, not his elders, but the people who are invested in his boxing life. Manny Robles wants you in camp for a reason. And I really do. I've got a lot of respect for Manny Robles. The other reason I've got respect for Manny Robles is the fact that he actually took responsibility for this loss. He said, well, not all of the responsibility, but he said that yes, Andy Ruiz is responsible, but I've also got to take some responsibility, because regardless of why we lost or whatever, I'm a trainer, and if we lose, I've got to take responsibility. And I do really respect that, because a lot of trainers, when their fighters lose, they kind of detach themselves. Oh well, if my fighter had done this and I gave all the advice, and you know what I mean. This is one of the first trainers I've heard come out and put his hands in the air. Even when in reality, to be honest, with Manny Robles, he was out of all the losses fighters have had before, this is probably one of the ones where I'd say he hasn't got no responsibility. But that just goes to show the character of the man. He hasn't come out and banged the drums for a rematch. He hasn't come out and talked about nothing else. He's sat there and been very humble and very, essentially, this almost felt like a bit of a schooling to me. It felt like a bit of a... He put Andy Ruiz right in his place, where he needs to be. Andy Ruiz in the camera after the fight, trying to get a third fight. Let's do the third one. The way he was acting as if he's actually earned it. Acting as if he had some sort of stake in a third fight. What planet is he on? You got in there. Number one, you did nothing in the fight. You showed no heart. Number two, you showed no respect to the sport, or no respect in general to your opponent, meaning that you just rocked up thinking you could be a big fat mess and get the win. Literally. You didn't even... The worst thing is, you had 5 weeks notice in the first fight. You didn't even maintain that point. You came in 20 pounds heavier. And for Andy Ruiz, weight is a proportionate reflection on his camp. Yeah? He's bearing in mind that 268 weight, that's actually heavy for him. He's been down at 246. In fact, he spent most of his career at 252s and whatnot, if you go and look on BoxRec. So that just goes to show how far from the tree has fallen as such. And I really rate Manny Robles, to be honest. And if Andy Ruiz, I believe if Andy Ruiz does listen to Manny Robles, he can go far. I don't think he'll ever beat AJ. But that said, one thing for sure, if AJ and Ruiz do fight a third time, and Ruiz has spent the last 2 or 3 years, let's say they fight 3 years from now, if that happens and Andy Ruiz has spent the next 3 years listening and training with Manny Robles, it will be a much harder fight, in my opinion, for AJ. He'll still win, but I'm saying it'll be a much more competitive fight. If he comes in 230 pounds, for example, Ruiz, he's going to be, feet will be a lot quicker and it'll be a lot more competitive for sure. Not only that though, in terms of the division, in my opinion, I'm going to stand by it. Ruiz beats Fury and beats Wilder. Maybe it's me being biased, but I just don't see neither of them two can fight on the inside. But maybe Fury could run away, but then again, no, he can't, because he couldn't run away from Wilder. He runs out of gas after 6 rounds, so no, that's not going to happen. Maybe the Fury of old could have done it, but not this one. Legs are shot. Wilder, on the other hand, Wilder has no inside game. If Ruiz sticks it on him, we all look at Ortiz versus Wilder. Ortiz, he wasn't even putting pressure on Wilder. He only put a few odd spurts in, and for the first 3 rounds, Wilder looked bamboozled off of the pressure. Ruiz will be a whole different game there, in my opinion. And we know that Wilder's genetic lineage can't take hooks. Yeah, look at his brother. Hit with a left hook and he couldn't handle it. Dropped straight to the floor like a sack of potatoes. Yeah, timber. In fact, no, it wasn't even timber. It was a sack of potatoes. And his toes were curled. Yeah, his toes were literally curled onto the canvas. You could hear it, like I said the other day about Wilder. The way that Marcellus Wilder's toes were curled, you could hear it scratching on the canvas. That's how rigor. Is it rigor? Rigor mortis, yeah, that's how, I'm telling you now. It's just as well, the doctor got to Marcellus Wilder, because rigor mortis was just about to start setting in. Just about to start setting in, and then they got the oxygen on his mouth, and luckily he came back through. But one of them ones. Anyway, listen, big respect to Manny Robles. People have disliked the video, but I thought what he said here was fair play. He mentioned some things about an injury, but I think the interviewer did him wrong. He didn't make excuses for the injury. They've had some injuries, but it's probably, in my opinion, the injuries, if he did have any injuries, it was most likely because he's too damn bubbly. When you get to them kind of weights, when you start being that obese where you're carrying 50, 60 pounds of pure fat, it puts weight on your joints. It weighs on you. Yeah, not only does it rot out your heart and rot your liver out and rot everything else out, your cardiovascular system, it also just weighs on your joints. So that's probably why he started getting little niggles, because you're too damn bubbly, too damn plump. Not enough working. Your joints seized up from all the weight and all the eating. Have you not watched My 500 Pound Life? Them dudes are seized up. Can't even get out of the bed, because too seized up. Too bulbous. That's where Andy Ruiz is headed if he carries on. I'm not being funny. And it's actually interesting. The last thing I'll say is, Manny Robles says here that if Andy Ruiz comes back and does the things he's talking about, I think there's a question to be had. Ruiz is motivated now because he's just lost. After a loss, after you've realised, or in the immediate seconds after you've realised you've lost I've lost the belt, so I've just won. I think he might go for a busted. I think the question can at least be asked now: will Andy Ruiz go for a Buster Douglas? Meaning that when Buster Douglas made it and lost, what happened to him? He disappeared, never fought again. And I think honestly, I think there's a fair question to be asked here. Will Andy Ruiz stay or will he go? Now, as I was saying, initially when you first lose, like he did last night, he was saying, oh, I'm going to come back, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's easy to say that then. The real test will be a month or 2 months from now when the hype's all gone and Andy Ruiz sits there, his $10-15 million in the bank, cash, and he's thinking, you know what, I don't have to work again. I can invest this money and live off. Think about it. With $10 million cash here, if you put that in a bank, even at the dodgy rates they've got now, you'd probably be able to get 3% a year. You're looking at 300 grand a year, rolling over every year. Who can't live off that? 300 grand a year, especially when you bought your house. You haven't got a mortgage to pay. You haven't got any bills really to pay, like rents and whatnot. All you got to do is live. 300 grand a year. You're joking. It's loads of money. So he's going to be sitting there thinking, I can sit back and live comfortably off 300 grand a year, just not getting punched and not having to train. We already know Andy Ruiz has a propensity to be lazy, has a propensity to be eating loads. We know that them big bubbly people love to be lazy and love to not do much. So he's going to be sitting there thinking, I can sit here and eat Twinkies all day, or I can go back to the gym and diet. The last thing big bubbly people want to do is diet. I'm being serious. In fact, Buster Douglas is a great example. He wasn't even as bubbly as Ruiz, but still, look how big he got. He literally went up to about 400 pounds. It went massive. And he wasn't even that bubbly when he was fighting. So I think it's a fair question to be asked now. Don't be surprised if in 2 months' time, or not, if in 6 months or a year we hear that Ruiz is retired. Don't be shocked at all. Or maybe he won't officially retire, but don't be shocked. As an example, in fact, a perfect example, look at Marcos Maidana. What happened there? Marcos Maidana fought Mayweather twice, and then what did he do? So basically, in fact, Marcos Maidana made less money than Ruiz did. Marcos Maidana got paid like $4 million each fight. Floyd was tight, man. But the fact of the matter is, Ruiz has made twice as much money as Marcos Maidana has. And Marcos Maidana thought, you know what, I'm out of here. And retired and got big as you like. And he wasn't naturally that big. Ruiz is already big. He's already lazy, bubbly. Is he really going to want to go back to the thing? I'm not sure. I can see another Buster Douglas. I can see another Marcos Maidana.